Why does everyone go silent before a collapse? The psychology nobody talks about. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a fascinating pattern that appears throughout history. In politics, corporations, financial institutions, and even powerful organizations. Most people assume that collapse begins with chaos, but psychology tells us something very different. The final stage often begins with silence, not loud protest, not dramatic speeches, not open rebellion, silence. And that raises an important question. Why do people stop talking when they can see trouble coming? The answer lies deep inside human psychology. People are not simply emotional creatures. They are strategic creatures. When uncertainty becomes high, most individuals stop asking what is right and start asking a different question. What is safest? That psychological shift changes everything. The first signal, the quiet before the storm. Imagine an election, a leadership transition, or a major crisis approaching. 2 months before the decisive moment, something strange often happens. From the outside, everything appears calm. In fact, it may appear calmer than ever. Yet beneath the surface, a completely different process is unfolding. Key figures become less visible. Public appearances decrease. Strong declarations of loyalty become surprisingly rare. Many observers misinterpret this silence as stability, but psychology suggests another possibility. People inside the system may have already reached a conclusion. They are no longer trying to influence the outcome. They are waiting to discover the outcome. This is known in behavioral psychology as risk adjustment behavior. When individuals believe the future is uncertain, they reduce exposure and avoid commitments that could become dangerous later. In simple terms, they stop choosing sides. They wait. The organization may still look united from the outside, but its internal cohesion is already weakening. The structure remains standing. The belief holding it together does not. The hidden logic of loyalty. One of the biggest misconceptions about power is that loyalty increases during a crisis. History often shows the opposite. When people sense that a system may be approaching a turning point, unconditional loyalty becomes a liability. Instead of moving closer to power, individuals begin creating distance from it. Why? Because they are calculating risk. They begin thinking, if things change tomorrow, where will I stand? Who will still be influential? What happens if I choose the wrong side? These questions rarely appear in public. They exist in private conversations, quiet meetings, and silent observations. The result is a phenomenon psychologists call pluralistic uncertainty. Everyone is watching everyone else. Nobody wants to move first, yet many have already begun preparing for change. That is why the quiet phase can be so deceptive. Silence is not always confidence. Sometimes silence means decisions have already been made. The most dangerous phase. Then comes the period just before the decisive event. This is often the most unstable stage. Something changes. Information that remained hidden for months suddenly emerges. Unexpected revelations appear. New controversies develop one after another. International observers, journalists, analysts, and outside institutions begin paying closer attention. To the public, these developments may look random, but organizational psychology suggests they may not be random at all. The timing itself becomes significant. By this point, many insiders have already completed their private calculations. External observers have started recognizing the same patterns. When internal uncertainty and external attention converge, pressure increases rapidly. Think of a fault line beneath the earth. The crack may have existed for years. The earthquake occurs only when enough pressure accumulates. The event is sudden. The conditions were not. That is why dramatic turning points often appear to arrive overnight. In reality, the psychological groundwork was laid long before anyone noticed. The critical moment. Then comes the decisive period immediately after the outcome is known. This is the true test. Not the campaign, not the debate, not the prediction, the reaction. At this point, systems generally move in one of two directions. Scenario 1, control, is reestablished. If leadership successfully consolidates authority, uncertainty disappears. The organization quickly reorganizes. Potential rivals become cautious. Dissent decreases. The system stabilizes. But there is an important psychological consequence. Control is often rebuilt through renewed deterrence. Fear becomes predictable again. People know where the boundaries are. The result is not merely stability. It is often a stronger and more centralized structure than before. The cycle begins again. Scenario 2. The cracks widen. The alternative path looks very different. Questions emerge. Disagreements become public. Individuals who remain silent suddenly begin speaking. Some distance themselves from previous positions. Others reveal information that was previously hidden. Why does this happen? Because whistleblowing and public criticism usually require one crucial condition: perceived safety. People rarely challenge a powerful system when they believe the risks are overwhelming. They act when they believe the balance of power has changed. This is one of the most consistent findings in social psychology. Human behavior is highly sensitive to perceived risk. The moment enough individuals believe that speaking out is safe, silence can disappear remarkably quickly. What looked like unity can dissolve almost overnight. Not because everyone changed their minds at once, but because many people had already changed their minds long ago. They were simply waiting for the right moment. The lesson. History repeats. The most important lesson is not political. It is psychological. Many people expect major change to begin with anger. Often it begins with calculation. They expect collapse to begin with noise. Often it begins with silence. And they expect loyalty to grow stronger under pressure. Yet history repeatedly shows that uncertainty can quietly weaken loyalty long before any public signs appear. That is why the most revealing question is not who is speaking. The more revealing question is who has suddenly stopped speaking, because sometimes the loudest signal in any system is not a voice. It is the silence that comes just before everyone realizes. The outcome may already be known. If you enjoyed this analysis of power, psychology, and human behavior, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the channel. New lectures explore the hidden psychological forces behind leadership, loyalty, social movements, and the rise and fall of powerful systems.